Two runners are nearing the end of the longest run of their lives. Both men end their run today in Virginia after starting in Massachusetts on Veterans Day. Our Errol Barnett reports that they're doing it for a very specific cause.
Marathon enthusiasts Brian Churchland and Josh Milich are on the longest run of their lives, 500 miles in 12 days, from Massachusetts National Cemetery on Cape Cod to Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. They're averaging more than 40 miles a day.
We got 20 to go.
Braving rain, snow, and injury to raise awareness of veteran suicides. We caught up with them in Philadelphia.
You say you want to do something outrageous, something people would stop and see.
Yes.
What has the response been so far?
It's been fantastic. It's exceeded anything that we thought would happen.
Churchland and Milich are using their passion for running to raise money for Mission 22, a non-profit organization providing treatment to veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress.
And to a veteran sitting out there watching from home who has been struggling, what would you say?
It's okay to not be okay, and no one's going to judge you for feeling the way that you do.
17 veterans die by suicide every day in the U.S., more than 6,000 lives lost a year. Former Indiana Army National Guardsman Brian Westerfield, who served in Iraq, was almost one of them.
What was it that made you contemplate suicide? Why?
It's all the failures over and over again. I'd stayed in that hole for so long that I didn't see a way out.
Westerfield is now helping Mission 22 counsel other vets. He's also backing Churchland and Milich on their mission to spread hope.
There's people out there that need to hear this message, and it's worth every ounce of pain that we're experiencing these 2 weeks.
Giving it their all to make sure no one runs life's course alone.
And CBS News national correspondent Errol Barnett joins me now on set. You can just see the emotion that Brian has. What more did he tell you about his story, Errol?
Well, that's what really struck me, just how candid and open he was about his struggles that so many veterans suffer with. I asked him not just what prevented him from dying by suicide, but what was his thought process and what he was thinking at the time that he decided not to. And I want you to listen to what he shared with us about that.
The only thing that really prevented me from it was laying that guilt on my family that I knew they would feel, even though they didn't, even though, ultimately it's not their fault. And, I couldn't find a way to, not, if I could, I considered things like suicide by cop, by oh man. Okay. Walking along a highway, just jumping in front of a vehicle, and those options just didn't seem to me, because then again, I'm putting it on somebody else. And what if I jump in front of a truck and that truck dodges me and then kills a family? Those things I thought of.
All these scenarios are playing through your mind.
Yeah, I wanted an option that didn't look like suicide, that wasn't going to affect some other people.
It's so apparent he's still struggling with this.
And that's what really hit me. He was in the Indiana Army National Guard in Iraq in 2003. And what he said was that coming back to the United States, it wasn't that he saw such traumatic combat, which is why he dealt with post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
It was going from having a structured environment, having a purpose, to coming back to the US and then being a truck driver. And that's what led to a downward spiral that included alcoholism. So what he does now is he tries to counsel other vets to say it's okay to struggle, it's okay to, he dealt with alcoholism, it's okay to fall off the wagon. That is part of recovery. And that's really the underlying message behind Mission 22, which raises awareness, raises money, and provides resources for veterans so they know there are other people like them and that help is possible.
I never heard anyone put it that way about lack of structure, leaving the battleground.
And I hadn't either.
And coming back to the States, so the lack of structure really affects you. I also want to ask you, how is he able, 40 miles a day, right? How is he able to do that?
So Brian is a vet who is supporting the other Brian and Josh, who are now running this whole distance, who are not veterans, although Josh Milich, you see in the piece, he's the younger gentleman, 29 years old. He is in the Massachusetts Coast Guard. They have a team of volunteers in a truck that's with them, going ahead of them 3 miles and checking in with them, making sure they're fed, they have the injuries aren't too bad, then they sleep in a hotel, and then they'll go back to where they left off. Every single day at 5 p.m. Friday today, they make it to Arlington National Cemetery. They're on track. And Josh says at that moment, it's all going to come home to him. You know, this is where so many service members are in the ground and are buried.
Laid to rest,
and that's the point they want to make. It's that, you know, there are veterans alive today who still need our help and our attention. And we talk a lot about them when they're overseas and they're serving. And for these gentlemen, this entire run, this epic 500-mile trek, dealing with injuries, is nothing compared to what veterans do all the time. And so it's really a type of story. I mean, running with them was a pleasure. I only ran a few miles, but I've been inspired by every single person we talk to for this story, because it's not the type of thing we hear about very often.
No, and the vast majority of Americans will never serve in the military, and it's so important that we don't forget their stories.
And we benefit
do.
from what they do. And there is a suicide prevention lifeline, they call it, that people can reach out to if they need help or know someone who needs help. So it's certainly something folks should take note of and screenshot and share as well.
Errol Barnett, I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Rena.
And the toll-free National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's 1-800-273-TALK.